Today we're going to talk about osmosis. So the definition you have to write down in your notes is that osmosis is the movement of water from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration through a membrane. You'll notice this sounds very similar to the definition of diffusion that we wrote. In fact, I'm going to show you the two side by side on the next slideshow. So again, we've got high concentration, that means where there's a lot, to low concentration, that means where there's little, till they reach equilibrium. So here are the definitions. Movement of water from high to low, movement of molecules. So diffusion is any molecule, salt, sugar, oxygen, perfume. And then water is just osmosis. Now, water is a molecule. So technically, osmosis is a special type of diffusion. But the reason why we give it a special name is because water is in everything. It's in all living things. It makes up most of our body, a lot of our cells. And so because so often the water ends up moving from place to place, we give it a special name, osmosis. If we look at these pictures, we have to figure out which ones show osmosis. So remember, osmosis is with water from a high concentration to a low concentration. This first one says H2O. Hey, that's water. So that's going to be osmosis from where there's a lot to where there's a little till equilibrium is reached. Sugar. That's not water. That's not osmosis. Salt. Not osmosis. Water. Yeah, that is osmosis. So we have two different examples of osmosis here. In this picture, which way will the water molecules move? Well, we've got blue dots, a lot of them inside. So we've got a high concentration inside and a low concentration outside. So they're going to move outside the cell. Imagine if these dots, we want to get them balanced, we would need to move some from the inside to the outside. Now, what process do the water molecules move using? They use osmosis because osmosis is for water. What about the red salt dots? Where are those going to move? Well, the salt is going to move into the cell because it wants to reach equilibrium. What process is going to move the salt molecules? It's not osmosis, they're not water, they're going to move using diffusion. In this example, we're going to draw arrows showing which way the water and the salt is going to move. This time we've got percentages. Notice I have 100% here. I've got 80% here for water. So remember, it goes from where there's a lot to where there's a little. There's a lot in here and a little here. So our arrow is going to go out for water. What about salt? I've got 20% and 0%. So I've got more salt out here. So it's going to go from the outside inside. Now, if you'll notice, I circled the cell will be smaller. You might be thinking, how's the cell going to be smaller? It's got stuff going in and stuff going out. Water is what changes the size of the cell. So water leaving is going to make that cell smaller. So water leaving, think about a water balloon. When water leaves a water balloon, it gets smaller. So we ignore the salt or the sugar or any other thing. We only look at water when we determine the size of the cell. Here's a little video clip showing us what happens when we get water leaving a cell. So these are red blood cells. And when we place them in kind of like a saltwater solution, of course, this is loading. Okay, maybe we will skip this video. So when we place them in a saltwater solution, what ends up happening is they end up getting shriveled up. Okay, so we'll just skip that video. Draw arrows showing which way the water will move in this example. So here we've got water and salt, 90% water, 70% water. So again, it goes from where there's a lot to where there's a little. So it's going to go into the cell. So water will go in. Salt, where's salt going to go? We've got 10 and 30. So salt's going to go from the big number to the small number. So salt's going to go out. Remember, our size is based on water. So water is going in. So the cell's going to get bigger. Notice when I draw these, I draw the arrows connected to the word or the percentage, so I know that it's water going in, and here I know it's salt going out. We'll see if we can get this video to load or not. Yep, All right, so when we have cells and we have a bunch of water going into the cells, watch what's going to happen here. The cells will actually burst. So again, this is why we want our cells at equilibrium. We want them to have a balanced amount of water, not too much, not too little, to maintain homeostasis.